Good evening. Who slaps your grandmother across the face with a wet fish but takes your granddad out for a pie and a pint? It's us, the American Scouser TV Thursday night podcast. ASTV Tinnipa for the cool kids. And we're joined as always by Brian and Trevor. And Trevor, I see you've got your plant replaced.
Yeah, I planted a couple seeds and now we're doing good. This is totally inside my office. There's no photoshopping or anything done. I am a arboreal wizard, and I will accept no other tags for myself.
It's amazing what genetically modified seeds can do these days, and people were so afraid of them back in the 90s.
It's crazy. Yeah, just accept technology. Yeah, embrace the future.
Yeah, the future is now. Brian, how are you?
Doing great. I came there, pulled my Windows 95 AOL 4.0 discount right there, and so I'm hoping that I have a modern internet, unlike this past weekend.
Did you add another stick of RAM into your computer, like a stick of butter? Shove it into one of the slots there.
You got taken off an Elon shit list.
I guess I need to stop criticizing the guy on X.
He's listening. That's what it is. He knows what's going on, and he's punishing you for it. So there's no games this weekend, and there's no midweek games for Liverpool. So we're just going to shoot the breeze, as they say, and talk about some not so immediate things. And the first thing we're going to talk about is apparently on the BBC, Uli Hoeneß saying that Liverpool and Bayer are already in talks for Xabi Alonso to be the next manager. If that is true, and I wouldn't say that the Germans aren't known for lying, but they're fairly straightforward about gossip and not keeping secrets. So, Trevor, if that is true, it looks more likely than not perhaps that Xabi Alonso will be the next Liverpool manager. So what I would say first is that my issue with Xabi Alonso is not that I don't think he's a good coach or manager, but that he may have caught lightning in a bottle with that Bayer Leverkusen team, and I would just like to see a little bit more before we commit what could be, number one, what already is actually a winning team to a new manager. Number two, a team that has the potential to grow together over the next few years to be even better. And then number three, the damage that can be done if we make the wrong appointment. What are your thoughts on that, Trevor?
So, first and foremost, I think Uli Hoeneß is one of those guys, like him and all of that, like kind of quasi Bayern contingent. They are all. I would like to say they're the mean girls of world football. They're people that like to really just stir the pot unnecessarily. It's something where like everybody gives Bayern and German football across the board a lot of credit of just being, oh man, they do everything right. They take things so seriously. And in so many cases, they are just such petty high school girls. They really do so many things just so crappily to the ecosystem of football, and
much like your ecosystem behind you.
Yeah, look at it. This one. Look at if I do that, you can see the banner growing in the trees. It's amazing. It's almost like it's magic.
That's some good fertilizer.
I know it's extra expensive. I have to like explain it to the wife why I'm paying so much for the magic fertilizer. But nevertheless, I don't think he's. A lot of people I saw were trying to say he was trying to start a bidding war with Liverpool and Bayern, where like this, and I think that comes from a lot of places, from American sports, where if there's like a coach that's available, they're trying to like put things against each other. It's like, oh, this guy has this offensive coordinator. Oh, this guy has this hitting coach, where you're trying to just lure people in with certain things. And I don't think the same thing goes for football, because if a guy comes in, he's usually 99% of the time going to come in with his whole entire staff, and he's going to come in with his whole entire philosophy. And there's not going to be much stuff coming from other directions. And if Xabi Alonso comes in, I don't think there's much going to be in the way of meddling in terms of constructing the team in the image that he wants. I don't. Mostly, I want to say that from Uli Hoeneß's perspective, he's just going, "Oh, these are two big teams that want this one guy. Let's see who wins." The cynic in me is going, "Oh, he's trying to like just sow those seeds of doubt because the British media will absolutely latch onto it, whereas like the German contingent will just be like, okay, if he goes to Bayern, it's great. He'll be the next guy. We know Thomas Tuchel's out in the summer. A to B." Whereas the British media is like, well, will Xabi Alonso do this and that? Will he just clear house? Will it? And it just creates this huge train of just dog shit reporting that is completely unnecessary. And it just makes me upset because I think the like Henkes and Hoeneß are two guys that have been in the game for so long. They know what they're doing, and they could easily just be like, yeah, we can leave it as it is and let the things play out. But they're so addicted to the drama of like, oh, what if I put my name into the thing for 5 seconds? I could get my Twitter mentions up. Ooh, like, my man, you're like 60. Knock it the fuck off. Just stop. You don't need to be relevant. Calm down.
Brian, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it is just a bit of a hullabaloo? I mean, the likelihood is Xabi Alonso's at least the number 1 or number 2 contender. I think we've both agreed, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, about it, he's not really the next step for Liverpool, and we may not be the next step for him, but there is that emotional connection, and the fans in general seem to want it. But am I way off track in thinking that one season is just not enough?
Oh, we got
Elon was this again.
Oh, we got Elon. Oh,
yeah. So as last week when we talked about right there, I don't think that he's ready. I don't think that this is an emotional promotions that you hear about, that the ex player is going to come back and save you and stuff like that. It's I hate that whole thing. We've seen it happen. We saw what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did at Man United. You see what the potential right there of all these ex players that you saw with Graham Souness and what he did. I mean, there's so many different things that you can talk about as far as ex players who are idolized taking over clubs. As far as I'm concerned with like Xabi, he's only managed Real Sociedad, and then he's gone over to Bayer Leverkusen. This is his first season at Bayer Leverkusen. Yeah, is he got a 10-point gap right now at Bayern Munich? Absolutely. But is this the same Bayern Munich that we've been talking about over the last seasons, who have a powerhouse behind them? I mean, you got the curse of Harry Kane now with you. So I mean, obviously you're not going to win with him coming across. But I just get worried right there because I think that we're going to get emotion that we're going to look back to all those couple years that we had Xabi in our ranks right there. All the things that the 60-yard goal that he scored, just different things like that. It's going to be glory days and all that. But that might not be the case right there. This might not work out the way that everybody wants it. And this might not be what we talked about. This might not be Xabi's end-all be-all right there. He's a Spanish manager. I mean, where would you want to go? You're going to want to either go to where you can, like either a Real Madrid or you want to go to a Barcelona. It's an idolized thing. So I don't know. I mean, I have so many reservations with appointing Xabi Alonso. I mean, if he gets appointed, I will support him 100% right there. But I just don't think that, even with who we've appointed in our upper management right now, and it kind of steers away from a Xabi Alonso in a way. I mean, with who we put with the actual appointments with the new sporting director. I mean, this is a guy who's really admires De Zerbi right there, which I'm still another one I'm really not that sold on right there. But I still think that we're going to go to the point where this could be a detrimental promotion. I mean, so we have to really make sure we check off all the boxes to make sure this is gonna work right. And as far as like the whole English media stuff like that, this is basically like a Fabrizio Romano right there. As far as grasping for any little tidbit of information and get swept in the pub right there. That some guy that I know that lives across the street saw somebody moving. The back to the days of the early internet when we used to watch transfer rumors right there with the Jets flying in to John Lennon right there, and this player is coming over to Melwood, and all this stuff like that. I mean,
don't steal my "here we go."
I just want to make sure that we make the right choice, and I think that that players are going to come, players are going to go. I mean, but again, just need to make the right choice. I don't know if Xavi's that one.
Trevor, staying on the same topic, but maybe moving away from Xabi a little bit. People want to point to Pep Guardiola and they want to point to Zinedine Zidane and the almost immediate success they had when they went into management. But Zinedine Zidane had the Real Madrid team with all the Galactico type signings they always make. And Pep Guardiola had arguably the best player who's ever kicked the ball in anybody's lives ever. Plus two of the best midfielders that ever kicked the ball, plus one of the best number sixes that ever kicked the ball, and some of the best defenders and goalkeeper. Like, he basically had a great team to take over. So my distrust is always about, for taking that as the rule rather than the exception, because the actual rule is for most of these storied players, and we see it so often on the Manchester United side with all their ex-players, failing miserably compared to what their expectations are. Is this a general thing? Is this something that's based more on fans' emotions rather than the cold, hard statistical reality that actually exists when it comes to famous ex-players becoming coaches?
My favorite thing with a coach taking over an ex-player more than anything, taking over a team and doing anything, it goes back to basketball, and it goes back to Pat Riley. If you go back to the Lakers days, and eventually when he ended with the Heat, it's not like a direct quote or anything, but his biggest thing was like, I know that I have superstars. I know I have tremendous players. My job is to not fuck it up. My job in anything is to just not be the hindrance to them being as great as they are. And I think in a lot of instances, people like to look at Pep as a guy who's like, oh, he can only take teams that have these world-class players. There have been plenty, and Zidane to the same instance, is like, there have been plenty of guys that have been given just absolute world-class talent, PSG, and have done absolutely fucking nothing with them on a world stage. There is an absolute art to being able to manage the egos, manage these guys that not necessarily are wanting to make the sacrifices and be like, yo, if you can do this one thing and you can do it amazingly, these other guys are going to carry you to gold beyond your wildest dreams. And that's an art to itself, just being like an ego broker. And I don't think with Xabi with Bayer is being an ego broker. He is a guy that is bringing people up, and with Liverpool, with the way it stands, that's good because everybody looks at the academy kids coming up. It's like, oh, we're gonna have, but that's not going to be the case next year because there's going to be a bunch of guys coming back healthy, and there's going to be more signings. And I don't think there's going to be a mass exodus after Klopp leaves, as a lot of people kind of think, which is wild to me. It's like, oh, he's going to go, so there's just going to be 8 people that depart, and it's just going to be a massive rebuilding project. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I think when you look at Xabi Alonso as like an ex-player coming in, I do see him as a guy that is more of a like lead by example, where he's on the training pitch going like, hey, I know that, oh, I was this guy that was great, but let me just try to implore as much of the knowledge I have of what I did on you, instead of just setting these expectations of, oh, I did this, why can't you do this? It's the reason that Michael Jordan was never a coach, because it was, oh, I have these expectations of what you could be, but I was the greatest player of all time, so you'll never reach them, so you will never satisfy my needs. Xabi Alonso, I think, is a guy that kind of sits in that middle ground of, I know I was a great player, but more than anything, I'm trying to bring you up to a level where I'm at least happy with what you're doing. And with the academy, that's great. But if there's a bunch of new players and everything, there's going to be that disconnect with, oh, Xabi Alonso wants us to be Xabi Alonso. And if we're not, then we're not going to meet his expectations. And there could be kinds of a bit of not necessarily discontent, but there could be something where it scares potential signings off. We'll have to see how that goes.
There we go. Yeah. Brian, is there a degree of confirmation bias, do you think, maybe, about Xabi Alonso? Because a lot of the narrative I see on social media seems to be, well, they were 13th or something like that when he took over, and look at them now. But they were, whatever it was, 13th, 14th, 10th, 12th, whatever, 8 games into the Bundesliga, and they had finished 3rd the season before that under the previous coach, and I think 4th the season before that, and hadn't finished outside of the top 6 in 10 years, bar I think 1 season. So it's essentially almost like taking over Arsenal rather than Bournemouth or Brighton. So he is doing a great job, but he's doing a great job in the context of a team that maybe just needed that boost. They also spent 100 million euros, I believe, this season, coming into this season. So it's not like he's taken the Bear team over and then turning like Claudio Ranieri and Leicester and turning like a bunch of misfits into the champions of England kind of a deal. So is there a lot of confirmation bias about that, and people want to ignore that he did take over a decent team, he did add to that decent team, and is reaping the benefits of it, because we've seen with Chelsea so often since 2003, 2004, that quite often it's just the quality of the players, and the manager can chop and change, but that success will still be there. It wasn't Potter that was making them as successful as they were. Is that the worry, that we're going to get somebody who just happened to be there at the right place at the right time with the right bunch of players and the right ownership, and then when he comes to Liverpool and has a different challenge? Because there's a lot of difference between being at Bayer Leverkusen and hoping to finish second maybe every year to Bayern Munich, to going to Liverpool, where at this point now we're kind of expecting a league challenge nearly every season, aren't we?
I mean, it is a drastic difference. I mean, because everybody expects Bayern Munich to win the league every season in the Bundesliga. It's almost like,
even Harry Kane did.
Yeah, even Harry Kane. But I mean, even with right now,
dismay.
But even right now, you think about that. Okay, well, so Bayer Leverkusen has Wirtz on their hand. One of the, arguably, probably right now, one of the top like talents in the world at the moment, right there. That everybody is like going there is looking after. So I mean, you got a very talented side right there. I mean, again, like you said, it'd be like Lego head right there, coming there when you taking over Arsenal after the Invincible, after like 2 seasons after the Invincibles. You already have a solid side. I mean, right there you can work with. You know, so I mean, is the money spent? I mean, this is the modern game right there. That managers right there are just meant to be that, just to be caretakers. I mean, more or less herding a flock, and really that the person who's making control is the actual coach in the team right there versus the manager. I mean, you can kind of say some people feel the same way about Pep Winters. I mean, with Klopp. I mean, I've heard arguments left and right there. Okay, why is it Pep Winters in the conversation right there with this? I mean, because again, all this basis of what talent we've had in the past like couple seasons have been Pep Winters involved with it also. I mean, so there's a lot to go with. Now, as far as like we were talking about like earlier right there with Trevor with the player exodus, I mean, players are going to go there and have their own ambitions. I mean, I think that right there, even with our side, I mean, I see every 2 days there's a Mo Salah rumor out there. I mean, it's like it happens. It's like, okay, is he going to go to Saudi Arabia? Is he not? Is he going to go there, go to PSG? Is he not? Is Diaz going to PSG? Is Salah going? I mean, every day. Again, players are going to do what players want for their aspirations in their careers. I mean, if Mo Salah wants to go, he's going to go. I mean, we obviously can't there know that player power is going to go there is going to win in the long run. So I mean, they are going to go if they force the issue to go. So I don't even really worry about that. My biggest concern right there is getting a manager that is not ready for the amount of pressure that the English game has versus Germany, where there isn't any pressure. I mean, on you. The pressure is always put either Dortmund or Bayern Munich. One or the other right there have been the shuffle team right there. I mean, to say, okay, they're going to win. Oh no, they're going to win. No, they're going to win. Oh no, they're going to win. Bayer Leverkusen hasn't really even been part of the conversation, so there's been no stress involved with them. So I mean, it's like, is Xabi ready to go out there to get hounded by when we go there and lose to Manchester United right there, and we go there and go drop down to 5th or 6th or something like that in a shuffle? Is he ready to handle that type of pressure? I mean, and I guess we'll see. I mean, I have my reservations. I don't think that he, as a manager, is quite ready for that level of stress. I mean, Bayer Leverkusen and Real Sociedad are not Liverpool.
Trevor, one of the reasons why I would be more happy with Xabi Alonso if he wins the Bundesliga or any trophy for that matter is simply because I think of what you and Brian were saying, in that, you know, the players will stay or leave based on what they perceive to be the ambitions of the club. So, for example, we sacked Rafa Benitez in 2010 and replaced him with Roy Hodgson of Zucatel Namax, or whatever that club was called. So imagine being Pepe Reina or Daniel Agger or Fernando Torres, and Roy Hodgson comes in to replace one of the best managers of the modern era for Liverpool Football Club. So while the novelty of having a great Liverpool modern ex-player come in to manage, you get some push from that. Even Frank Lampard gets a little bit of shine off that for the first few weeks before he ruins everything. But with a trophy in your back pocket, you can go into a club then and say, look, I may not have 12 trophies, but I know how to win one. So if you stick with me for at least one season, we'll see where we can go. As opposed to, even for Brendan Rodgers, who was a good coach for Liverpool, if not a good manager, let's put it that way, because we played much better football, I thought, under him than we did under Kenny, even because Kenny was still stuck in the 80s, and definitely more better than under Roy Hodgson. But you can only go so far and say, look, we're going to play nice passing football before the players will go, well, this is great. Where's the silver? Like, where's the end product? So is there a danger that if Xabi Alonso didn't have a trophy or doesn't have a trophy, I think he's going to win the Bundesliga at this point. Bayern are just such a mess, that he can't come in and say, "Look, I know I'm green and I know I'm young at this game, but I've weathered the storm of one league campaign and come out the other side. So give me a chance." As opposed to had he finished second with Bayer Leverkusen, he's no different than like Ralph Hasenhüttl almost coming in and going like, we play nice football in Das German manner, but we'll all win a trophy together. At which point all the players go, yeah, but we've won a few already. The 17-year-olds have won some. It is really. Am I on the wrong track by saying it is important that he can come into our club with something as a manager?
Yeah, as much as you want to kind of give him that gravitas for being a legend as a player, not only for the club but just generally throughout his career, just everything he did for the span of everything he's done in both England, Spain, and Germany. He kind of embodied everything you want from a midfielder, and I think coming in to a club, he is going to have certain expectations of at least that position. And there's going to be guys that are either going to be scared off by that or they're going to be emboldened by that. And that's kind of, I think, a baseline. His ability to win, I think, has more of an impact on like ownership and the hierarchy of the front office, because there's guys that will see there and go like, oh, Xabi Alonso's coming in. Oh, I used to like emulate my game after him. And maybe that will carry through like 5 or 6 matches where like, oh, they're still kind of in awe, but it's not something that's going to just permeate through the entire season. They'll go immediately, oh, wow, Xabi's in, and he's like giving them pointers and stuff. It's like, oh man, like, what is this? Because I went to like a lot of basketball camps as a kid, and as you can tell by the person, I'm 6'4", and I peaked at like 13. Yeah, that shit had a shelf life. But these guys that are, I'm telling you, like Curtis Jones as a Scouser looked at Xabi Alonso and he's like, that's a guy that I can fucking build my game off of. So if he came in as a coach, Curtis Jones would be raring to go in and pick his brain. I can guarantee that. But maybe Szoboszlai is like, I do not give a fuck. There could be vastly different camps.
I think you're thinking of Gakpo there.
Oh, Gakpo, I don't think we're gonna get into the Gakpo slander tonight as much as I potentially would want to.
Yeah, we'll take an international break on the player slander for this week.
Yeah, we'll leave the Gakpo and Darwin just shots for another day, as warranted as they are.
Next Thursday?
Yeah, next Thursday.
A 1 week sabbatical. But regardless, I think a lot of the players are going to look at Xabi as a guy that, we can pick his brain off, but we're not necessarily seeing him as like a manager immediately. And that may be problematic, where they're just going like, oh, he's just one of the guys, and we can kind of just sit here and shoot the shit with him and kind of just be tactically amorphous with what we're going to do. And then none of his stuff really sticks. And then just things fall apart because nobody has any clear direction. But if he comes in and just like stamps his foot and goes, yes, I am a guy that has done this, and as you're saying, Macka, like, yo, I went and I won the Bundesliga against Bayern, who had brought in a goddamn mercenary in Harry Kane to score 50 fucking goals. And we went undefeated for 30 something odd games. I think that carries a lot of weight. It's just a matter of how both the administration and how Xabi would come in and go like, all right, I know that you guys want to come in and just look at me as a guy that was a former player and did X, Y, and Z. And some of you want to just kind of sit under my knowledge tree, but I'm also your manager now, and we need to just move forward with this. And I think the quicker that process happens would be better for the club if they're going to bring him in.
Brian, here's the thing that I thought about before. I had a thought once. I was probably on the toilet at the same time as it happened. But essentially the idea was this.
Those damn donuts again.
No, there was not that. Yeah, we were still one of those challenges. Maybe we should have done that this week. But the issue, I'm not very
end up like Elvis.
But it'll be in a red jumpsuit. That's the important thing. A hunka burning bumhole. But here's what my thought is, and I'm not a very good mathematician type of person. In the sort of subsets of managers, if you took all of the managers who were high-level ex-players and internationals, and then took their coaching careers and the percentage of those who were successful and compared them to the subset of managers who didn't play professionally. So the Mourinho's, who maybe they got one game or something like that, but Mourinho's, the Houliers, the even Pep Linders to an extent, who and Andre Villas-Boas and Carlos Alberto Pereira and Sarri and all those who came up through the coaching route, played amateur and then became true coaches. The percentage of success is, I believe, notably higher in those that subset than it is in the ex-players. Sheer numbers notwithstanding. Is the case that, as Trevor said, like a lot of ex-players think along the lines of Michael Jordan? I'm great, so why can't you do the things that just came literally naturally to me that earned me millions of dollars? Why can't you do it? Whereas the amateur players that became coaches, that say, understand, well, I couldn't do this, so I had to practice it, and now I know what the process is. Is it the case that for Xabi Alonso, he may be one who has got that balance right? Because he was a class player, but he also came from a culture where coaching in Spain, where coaching is absolutely paramount, where they have they know what they're doing in Spain with coaching. They understand the idea that if you teach technique properly early, if you teach game intelligence early, and let players make mistakes, they will become great players. If Xabi Alonso becomes the manager, is there anything about him that suggests he may have that balance right?
Yeah, I think there is right there. There's a lot of positives about Xabi Alonso right there. You can tell by the personality. I mean, he's definitely not an egotistical type of manager / player. He's a very humble from talking to everybody that's ever worked under him or worked with him. I mean, again, football management is like any type of management is a majority psychological, and sports psychology and work psychology. I mean, overall, because I mean, talent right there. Yes, you have to have a talented player, but that talented player right there isn't the right type of mind. Then you're not going to get production out of them. I mean, we see that with so many talented players out there in the world. I mean, that never were able to go any further right there because they didn't think they couldn't think their way through it. I mean, they couldn't actually go and actually know how to handle situations and how to handle pressure internally. I mean, hell, we came through and we signed one of them right there, and from that turned into a big nutcase right there. I mean, and still is a nutcase. I mean, so I don't know. I think that there, if you're able to handle these guys and being able to put them under your arms and say, hey, this is what I did, this is what I've done, but not doing it in an egotistical way right there to actually say them, this is our path forward, this is what I can help you with, but you got to also go there and realize you have to help yourself in your own game and your own pathway right there. If you're going to go there and be that person right there who wants to light fireworks off in your apartment in the middle of the night right there, you're probably not going to make it very far. And honestly, we see that he didn't make it that far. I mean, so you got to look at all aspects of it right there. I mean, I think that Xabi would be a good manager. I just don't know if this is the time for him to be a good manager with us. I mean, I will support him no matter what right there, but I think that it's ultimately going to be Edwards and Hughes right there who are going to make this decision about what they want to do with him, who they want to go forward. But I just don't think that I don't think the stars are aligned yet for Xabi Alonso. I mean, it's just my personal opinion right there. I mean, I don't want what he did for us to get tarnished by coming into and creating a club that's already at a high and already has these certain players and potentially come there and dropping us back down into like a 6th, 7th, 8th spot, because so and so doesn't want to do this and so doesn't want to do that. I mean, and it's always potential, and I think that getting, like you said earlier, Xabi coming there and actually coming there winning a title is a different Xabi than Xabi finishing second. I mean, honestly, yes. But again, he's very young in his managerial career. I mean, so do we want that young type of manager to come here? I mean, that's where I was at a couple months ago when Klopp came to announce that he was going to leave right there. He hasn't gone through all the trials and tribulations of a management. I mean, he hasn't come there, gone through a bunch of guys held over top of, why did you win this match? Why do you win this match? Why do you win this match? Or come there, watch your club come there and go down from first or second down to mid-table. He hasn't seen these peaks and ebbs that happen with management. And I just don't know that lack of experience could ultimately hurt him. I mean, it can hurt him in his career. And I just don't want that to go there and to come here and hurt us and him at the same time.
So let's move on from Xabi Alonso, but we will maintain the sort of theme of clubs that have made the wrong choice of their next manager following a legend. So, and of course, we mean Manchester United, who have not recovered yet from the astoundingly brilliant appointment of David Moyes in 2013.
He's a football genius.
He is a football genius. He's a winner without winning. Although you can't say that anymore now because he's won a European trophy. So, but he did it with West Ham, so that's okay. But
you count as a European trophy?
Yeah, you'd have to. We would if we won it. Especially if us three were playing on the team.
It's West Ham. You got to let them have the Conference League.
Yeah, it's either that or a new bubble machine, Brian. And I'd rather they have a trophy than those bloody bubbles that mess up the cameras before the game start.
I can't blow a bubble with gum, so the fact that their thing is forever blowing bubbles makes me kind of upset. But it's a thing where you have to kind of pick your battles.
I agree, but here's what we're not going to get into the game we just played against United in the Cup, and we're not going to get into any kind of tactical detail about the game we're going to play them in the league. My question is, given the result in the Cup, Trevor, how mentally and psychologically important is it that we beat them well in the league game?
Beat them well, I think, I want to say it's important to kind of just put your foot down and take care of business on that front because and we've had a lot of revisionist history across the fandom and this channel of like, oh, well, we all like predicted to win like 3-0 and all that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, we lost, and then the FA Cup doesn't really mean anything, And it was something where, especially from where I was at, because in Rhode Island, at least, we had to move our venue because the St. Patrick's Day festivities took over the vast majority of the spots where we watch our games, because
Quite
it just
rightly, I say, the Irishman.
how dare I besmirch your holiday? I will never do such a thing.
That is celebrated more everywhere else except Ireland.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. But circling back, it was one of those things where there was just a sort of weird calm around the game. Nobody expected that result to happen, the way things went down. And of course, comes in about the same time Ahmad fucking Diallo ruined my Sunday. Alan coming in talking about my plants. But either way, it was one of those things where you looked at the game and you're just going, everybody has talked about how everything went wrong. And I don't want to just beat the dead horse, mostly because hitting dead animals is just cruel and not fun. But that is,
I mean, they don't know, to be fair.
Yeah, but I do. And it's one of those things where, like, yeah, they're dead, so who cares? But I'm still sitting there taking a golf club and hitting a horse. And what's the point in it? Nevertheless, I think this game coming up is one of those ones where I think you need to just not necessarily beat them down, but like assert your dominance early. Where just if they go in and they're like, oh, we're gonna flop around and we're gonna just make these things where, like, oh, you're gonna have to like beat us with something great, like the first time around where it was the 0-0 draw that was just the most drab affair ever. If they go that route again, you just have to punch them in the mouth. I think more than anything, you have to really just come at them and go, if you want to be defensive, we're gonna make you have to really be defensive. And if we kind of just give them an inch, that it's the old thing. If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. I really just don't want to give them an inch. I just want to go at them immediately and make them have to adjust. Because when Man United has to adjust 99 times out of 100, they can't.
Brian, we would think that maybe like pride is a factor, but if we fail to beat Manchester United in the league game at Old Trafford following that 4-3 loss in the cup, would that send an encouraging message to Arsenal and City then that maybe we are spent and then they can redouble their effort to be more encouraged? And then on the converse of that, then would a very rousing defeat of Manchester United, like a 3-0 or a 4-0, would that then send the message that that game in the FA Cup, that's a hiccup? We're back, we're rested, and we've got players uninjured now, and we're coming after you.
I mean, I think right there that there's a lot of lessons learned from that match, and I think that the way that we approach the match right there is going to change. Again, like Kazi was sitting there talking about in the pre-match right there. This is all they have left to play for. They can't go any further. They can't win the league. They can't. I mean, they could go up to a Europa League spot. This is as far as they could go. They're top four is almost unattainable. I mean, unattainable for them at the moment. So this is all that they have left to play for. And coming into the league is going to be a different animal for them. I think that we have a lot of players coming back off of injuries that are game changers. We came off of a match right there where we came there and had some players play a little bit longer than they possibly should have played. And also the key to this is that we are playing on we're not playing at lunchtime on Saturday like we did so many times. So I think that so I really think that that we are going to approach this with a lot more positive input. And I think that if you looked at what we done, we missed a 5v2 and a 4v2 right there, where we should have that match should have been over with. I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, but Trevor said, we beat that horse about that. But I think that going forward, that the lessons learned of how we can approach them and how we can flood their midfield with our midfield, which is so much better. I think that we're going to come out of this easily as winners. I mean, yeah, I thought we won the last match, but we came up with a little bit of naivety, and I think that we had some issues as far as what subs that we were making in that match. And I don't think we're going to make the same mistake twice. But I think more or less like if we beat them like 3-0, I think that you're going to see a lot more reservation with Arsenal and City about their upcoming matches. Because if you think on here that with Arsenal, their schedule was probably about even with ours, so with the next matches, City's is a lot easier than ours. I mean, in the long run. I mean, so that they have a lot easier match pathway to go through it. But injuries are going to take a toll, and I'm hoping for a draw with Arsenal and City, and I'm hoping that we can just put our stamp on the match against United.
Trevor, would there be any extra oomph about winning this next game because it's at Old Trafford? Because I know the players and the coaches of any team that in a rivalry approach everything differently than the supporters do, but they still get a sense of the mood that goes on. So in terms of, I mean, I think we've all seen Klopp's post-match interviews, and he was very, very tetchy, more so than he ever would be if for losing. So do you think he thinks because he's such a nice, humble bloke, that he let us down, maybe, that he understands, realizes that his subs weren't great and that there's parts of the approach that could have been different, and that maybe he owes us one, so to speak, although he doesn't know anybody anything, to be fair, let's be honest. But do you think there's going to be a sense of purpose about this game, rather than, it's United, it's the league, we'll deal with it, etc., but this time it's actually going to be, now we have to win this. We have to win this for them because they traveled the last time and we lost it with the last kick of the game. So we owe the fans.
I do. I think, at least from his perspective, there's going to be something where he's not going to fuck about with the lineup. He's not going to try to tinker and deal with who needs rest, who needs to looking at what Man United could potentially put out and try to counteract that. I think he's just going to go full strength with whatever he can put on there and really just go for it. Because as much as we crapped on his substitutions in the FA Cup, I do think he is a guy that has enough awareness that can look back on it and go, yeah, I kind of screwed up. I don't think he's a guy that has enough of a just irrational ego where he can look at something and go, I'm infallible. Jurgen Klopp has always come off to me, and that's what makes him so special, as a guy that he's going to make mistakes managerially through his lineups, his tactics, his statements, whatever he does. But whenever it comes down to it, yeah, and people go, oh, well, he blames refs a lot. He does this, that, and the other thing. Generally, when it comes down to something that he's fucked up, he usually either owns up to it or makes good the next match. There's never really like a streak of times where it's like, oh God, he's put this guy in a horrible position 4 matches in a row. What is he doing? Why does he keep doing this? What is this madness? I think with him, it's something where he's going to look at what went wrong with the FA Cup and then go to this one and be like, okay, I've seen what went badly and how they took advantage of what I did incorrectly, and I'm going to correct those. And yes, like you said, reward everybody who is making that trek into hostile territory and give them the best possible output that I can give you to make sure that your going to Old Trafford was worth both your time and your dollar. And I'm not saying right now that they're going to go and blow Manchester United out, but I think it's going to be a significantly better performance, because if it's not, there's going to be fucking heads that roll, because Klopp will not accept 2 consecutive poor performances against a team that has so much meaning in the overall Liverpool just hierarchy. Making sure that we can beat Manchester United in the league is gigantic.
Brian, in terms of the return game, obviously we did look tired at that extra time, and there is a sense of exhaustion from the players, but we do have this international break. Unless something's changed, I believe Mo Salah definitely isn't traveling with Egypt to play for Egypt, so he gets a bit of rest. Alisson is a week closer to return, and Jota is a week closer. I don't know about Trent. I think he's still a little bit off the pace. But everybody comes back a bit more refreshed and a bit more rested. So in terms of the injury situation easing up, are we going to see an entirely different type of energy from Liverpool in this game?
I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, again, out of those players who are coming back off an injury right there, I mean, we're getting Konate and Curtis Jones back. I mean, for that will be, they should both be ready for the United match. I think the other players right there, from what I just read when we were talking a few minutes ago, is that Trent is still a week later. Same thing, and Alisson's a week later than that. I mean, Jota's is about the same time, so they're rating those for April the 7th for Jota and Trent to be back fit. I mean, and Diaz right now is question mark right now at the moment from what I read right there. I mean, with this groin injury, so I mean, we're to see exactly where that's falling for that. So I mean, I think that Kelleher is doing the job at the moment, so I'm not worried about rushing Alisson back into the situation. I think that, but I do think that Curtis Jones is a higher impact player, and I think that he would be a player that could definitely go there and will help us against the United side, especially since, he knows what this rivalry means to us. He understands it. I think that him in that same slot replacing a Slavazai, this will be only his second match against United in the long run. Having him in that lineup changes the dynamics right there, because it means more to them. It means more to a Scouser to go there to go and beat a Mank than it does to a guy from Hungary to beat a Mank. I mean, this is what it is. I mean, same things goes right there. If we can go there and get Trent back earlier, again, it's going to change a lot of the aspect of what it means. I mean, so I don't think that Trent's going to make this match. I think that Trent is still off. I don't think we probably going to see Trent probably the Brighton match, in my opinion. I think that and so he can he gets straight. But yeah, energy-wise, absolutely, it's going to be a big change in energy. What like I said earlier, they don't have as much to play for. I mean, they could go up. They've kind of blown their chances of making top four. And it seems like between Spurs, Villa, them, they don't know who goes to be in the top four because they keep on winning a match. They get beat a match, win a match, beat a match, win a match, beat a match. It's like the most inconsistent thing outside of.
It's the world's crappiest.
I mean, that next tier right there, where you expect right there, needs to. It's exactly. I mean, it's like this whole group that's right below there doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, it's like it's like, do you want that Champions League money or do you not? I mean, it's kind of like, and you would think that like Eli Emery's side right there would have a little bit more consistency, but they get beat, they get turned around, get beat. If you have Spurs go there, beats the hell out of Villa, then turns out it gets crap beaten by Fulham. I mean, so. What do you do with it? I mean, again, the consistency right there is going to be us top three. And I know that a lot of people said before right there that the deciders are going to be these Villa Spurs matches. I don't think they're going to be the deciders. I think they're too inconsistent. The deciders are going to be those guys down there toward 17th, 16th, 15th, that whole little gap right there. Especially if Everton get found guilty of points. And then that drags them back into it because I think Everton, unfortunately, is a better side than Luton. And then I think that then you're going to see fights through there. We still have to play Everton right there directly after we play them. Brighton, because I think I got rearranged after Brighton now. So we still have to play them. So again, they're going to be fighting for blood. I mean, those are the deciding matches. These guys below there, inconsistent 5th, 6th, 7th. They're not. That's not the deciders. But I think that also ultimately right there that we're going to run into this match with a lot more tempo. And I think that we know that we're not going to have Diallo skipping around like a ballerina all across the pitch right there to go and score a goal on us right there at the end of the match. I don't think that shit's happening again right there. I think that these guys learned lessons from it about placement and why you should be coming through doing it. And like again, it goes back not to rehash it. Bradley should have took a red on that shit right there. And then move on with our lives. I mean, sometimes you have to learn as a player, take it for the team. And taking the penalties and let's go from that point. So I think that again, we're playing for the league, they're not, and that's the big difference.
Before we wrap it all up with a threshold question that I thought of during this show, first thing we're going to have to do is make sure everybody knows that we have a Patreon. So get access now. There's lots of great stuff on that, and we're already putting some content up. And the first week, all the content is free. There's a good interview with Stephen Speed and his book, X-Reds, 50 X-Reds Remembered, Revisited. We have the Paul Turk Gaming show. We have the Scouser, an Irishman and a Turk show, which is, I believe, being made illegal for the content. There's just too much handsomeness in one podcast. And then also for anybody who regularly watches, there will be no fantasy show after that tonight, which is why we're doing the extended edition, because they're going to do a wrap up, or not wrap up, but a remainder of the season special type show.
We got to let everybody recover from their 14-point game week this past week, when you all free hit to get Son Heung-min to get you 4 points and everybody from Luton to get you nothing.
I thought you were speaking a weird language there. This is why I don't do fantasy, because I don't understand it. I pick a team and I leave it, and then they all die halfway through the season and get 0 points. But here's the threshold question before we wrap up. And we'll start with Trevor and then we'll go to Brian. What would you rather pay? Donald Trump's bail money that he's struggling to get the funds for, or Thiago's injury bill that the insurance companies aren't going to pay now? You have to pay the full thing in cash. Which would you rather pay?
All right, I'm gonna obviously go.
Because on one hand, there's an ideological issue, maybe, but on the other hand, it's Thiago. It's probably worth more than the small country's GDP.
At least I could attempt to send up a GoFundMe for Thiago, and I could put a bunch of stock images for him doing a sweet crossing pass
Before
and
getting injured.
But I could Photoshop like puppies not getting kicked, but like around him, and people would go, "Oh my God, he's doing all this in like a shelter," and you could just kind of like cross the streams, and I could make it just so incredibly incredulous, where nobody would know what they were donating to, but Tiago would get all of his hip surgeries, all 407 of them, paid for by people that like sad dog and cat videos like me on social media. They would Alan, that's just mean. Why would you do
on the night we gave him plants?
Say something like that. But yeah. Tiago's Health Fund coming soon to
Patreon.
We're making a Patreon tier. It's like, hey, do you want to be a guest on the podcast? The super tier. Make sure Tiago retires with a non-degenerative hip. It's going to be a bit pricey. You're going to have to take out a 7th and 8th mortgage, but you know what? You're going to make sure that he walks in those Gucci jeans with less pain than he would have beforehand.
Brian, which one would you select?
So I'm going to kind of feed off a little bit of what Trevor was going on, but I'm going to go with a little bit different path. I'm going to go with the "Eyes of an Angel" song right there that you see in the the commercials, with the shelter. But what I'm going to have is I'm going to have Anon talk about his love for Tiago right there through the whole.
Oh my God!
Part of it right there.
Anon McLaughlin
and explain my. Yes, exactly. Anon McLaughlin right there to have Anon speak about his love for Tiago and how it would be to go there to fund Tiago for the rest of through all his medical bills, and how and with have a little presentation
of Tiago,
but not his hips
across the field.
So now you're
the sad puppy. And this degenerative hip.
So now I would like make some kind of image of Anon hugging Tiago, and then go there, please to support my injuries. but I mean, as far as that right there, I think ultimately it'll probably be cheaper to go and support Tiago than it is with the next run of Trump fines.
Yeah,
he's going to find out coming running across. So yeah, definitely Tiago.
I would choose Tiago because I think that you could write that off the taxes as an expense. To be fair, so you'll get some money back from it either way. So it just remains to say thank you, Trevor, and thank you, Brian, again as always for an awesome show. If you want to follow what we do, make sure you're on our Discord channel. Make sure you're on the Facebook and the Instagram and the YouTube and the X formerly known as Twitter. Look at all those trees. That's what we're doing. We're here for Trevor's trees. And if you don't like and subscribe, they get cut down. And also on our Patreon, I have to mention that again because we're going to be having some special content on that, as well as the GoFundMe for Tiago's injuries. But it's really important that everybody gets on board with that. And then make sure you're sharing what we do in your Liverpool groups, etc. Let's get the word out there that if you are a Scouser who is American or a transplanted Scouser or a transplanted Liverpool fan in America, this is the place to be. We identify with your needs. We know what you want, and that is technological difficulties on the Thursday night and arguments on a Monday. There's no better thing than that for American Scouts or for Liverpool fans in America. But the only thing is I don't know what this international break nonsense is, and most importantly because Ireland are playing in it, I believe, somewhere. And our team is so bad I haven't even figured out who we're playing. But I know John O'Shea is interim manager, so it's already the weekend is instantly forgettable. So enjoy the break. We will be back tomorrow morning, I believe, for the morning coffee, and then we will have our Monday show, etc., etc. Make sure you smash a like on the like button or gently tap it. For people like us whose keyboards are a little bit fragile, like
you can't
Tiago's,
trust technology.
Like my internet.
Be gentle with it.
Yeah, like Tiago's degenerative hip.
Yeah.
So from all of us here at American Scouser, make sure you have a good weekend and a safe weekend, and we will see everybody next week. Peace out.